Hey everyone, I'm Josh, and in this video I want to talk to you about the importance of being able to balance being humble with also being able to sell yourself really well. This is important if you want to be able to have a huge advantage when getting through life, because usually this is something that's pretty difficult for people to balance properly. Usually you'll get people falling way too far into one end of the equation. They'll either be way too humble and incapable of selling themselves well, or they'll be a bit too good at selling themselves well and they'll come off arrogant or braggadocious. So if you want to get through life well, you want to end up somewhere in the middle between the two of these and not fall to either extreme. You want to be able to be balanced. It's incredibly important. So how can you do this? Well, the trick here is to know when to employ either of these two concepts, knowing when to be humble and knowing when you need to sell yourself. Usually, for the most part, you won't really have to sell yourself all that much in life, but there will be times where it's very important that you be able to do this. The best example of this would be when you're job interviewing, when you're looking for a new job and you're going on interviews. You really want to make sure that you're good at selling yourself, because being too humble means that you may end up getting passed over by someone who may not even be as good as you at that job. But if they're better at selling themselves than you are, well, the interviewer could easily get mistaken and believe that their confidence is an example of them being better at the job than you. So that's when it's in your best interest to sell yourself really well. And again, here you can still be humble while doing this. You just want to make sure that you touch on all the things that you bring to the table, all those things that separate you from the crowd. You can also somewhat do this while dating, but be careful here because you can definitely, well, it's a fine line, right? Again, it's a balance, and there can be a point where if you cross the line, you could come off being a bit braggadocious, like you're trying to impress the other person. You don't really want to do that. I've found it's often better when dating to just let who you are speak for itself, to not try to impress the other person, but to just be yourself, and over time they kind of get to learn about all your great qualities. But you can also, from time to time, kind of talk up your own good qualities as well, without being arrogant, of course. You don't want to do it when it isn't exactly asked for, but there are times where you can kind of bring it up and it makes sense for the conversation when dating. But usually, yeah, you kind of do want to play it a bit safer in that situation, just so you don't come off like you're full of yourself or you're trying to win the other person over, because it's not exactly a good look. So for the most part, being able to sell yourself, you want to employ that when you're job hunting, or even when you're trying to sell a product or that kind of thing. You're starting your own business, anything like that where you need to earn the trust of other people and basically prove who you are to them, because they don't know who you are, right? They're not going to know anything about you. So you need to be able to sell yourself to them so they can have an idea of what you bring to the table. Another situation where being humble may actually hurt you is when you're dealing with people who are a bit overbearing, people who are kind of like adult bullies. We've all encountered them, right? We know that this is a concept. There are bullies even into adulthood. It's not just a concept that exists only for children. So when you're encountering or dealing with people like that, again, you probably don't want to stay far on that humble corner for the most part. You want to be able to show who you are, show that you're not going to be trifled with. Trifled is a good word. But yeah, you basically want to be able to sell that you are someone who's confident enough to stand up for yourself, that you'll not tolerate their bullying and that sort of thing. Because bullies will tend to take advantage of people who are a bit too humble. It can make you come off a bit meek, like you're afraid of conflict. So you don't exactly want to do that when you're dealing with people like that. But again, you don't need to be overbearing. You don't need to be arrogant with them. You just basically want to be confident enough that you're not being super humble to the point you're letting them walk all over you, but instead, you're just someone who isn't going to tolerate their nonsense. So those are just a few examples of when it's actually in your best interest to not be super humble, and when you actually want to be able to sell yourself well, or just at least stand up for yourself, because in those situations, being too humble can actually bite you in the butt. But for the most part, when you're going through life, there really won't be all that many situations where being humble is actually a bad thing. I mean, even in making this video, I can't really think of many other situations, many other examples where it makes sense to not be humble. It's just such a powerful tool to help you go through life usually. So for the most part, you probably can err on the side of being humble. Just again, try not to be too humble, because even that can be bad in normal everyday situations. As I keep saying, It's a balance. So for the most part, you do want to err on that side, being a bit more humble. And also there's something I've kind of noticed when going through life, and that is that humility, being humble, is a practice. I don't believe it's something that people are just born with or whatever, that it's a part of their personality. I think this is something that people need to practice throughout their life, especially if you're the type of person who's incredibly ambitious and you're even good at being ambitious and you end up accomplishing a lot of things. That can easily get to your head, and we see that rather often with most people, right? People don't really work on themselves. They can easily go from being humble to being a bit arrogant once they start doing pretty cool things with their life, or once they start making a lot more money and that sort of thing. So you want to practice being humble, and you can easily do that by just reminding yourself of your origin, your beginnings, right? What you came from, and keeping that in the center of your mind so that you're never forgetting that you had humble beginnings and whatnot, so that you don't think you're better than other people just because you got lucky, because usually that's the case, right? If we end up doing pretty great things with our life and making a lot of money, there's some luck involved in that. We can't claim all of it as being our own doing, because sometimes there are opportunities that had to come your way. And did you create those opportunities? Did you make them arrive in your life? Probably not, right? So there's some luck involved. Sure, you took advantage of them, don't get me wrong there, but for them to show up in your life, that's luck. So it's important to stay humble and remind yourself that even when you're doing great things, and even when those things are often because of you and your own actions, that still doesn't make you better than other people. And you'll always find people who know something that you don't. In fact, everyone's going to know something that you don't, just because their life is different from yours. Even if what they know that you don't is something about their own personality, you're not going to know who they are, right? So they're going to know more about themselves than you know. So it's just an easy way to stay humble by reminding yourself that you're not better than other people just because over time you've been able to craft a life that you want and that sort of thing. All that means is that you've done a pretty good job of maximizing your time being here. But again, that doesn't make you better than other people. So stay humble, remind yourself that other people are human beings just like you. Like, there's no point in thinking you're better than them. That's a really unfortunate mentality, and it's sad to see that so many people end up even falling into that to begin with. So as much as possible, just stay humble. Remind yourself it's a practice. It's not a part of your personality. It's something you embody, something that you choose to be, because you know that even if you've got certain qualities that other people lack, it doesn't immediately make you better than them. So just keep reminding yourself of that and get through life by being humble like that. It will pay dividends for you. But anyway, that's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to cover in this video. I just want to talk about how this is an important balance between being humble and being able to sell yourself well, because I found that I was kind of falling a bit too far onto this side of the equation, being a bit too humble, and it was biting me in the butt when it came to trying to find a job, which I'm still currently doing. And yeah, basically my resume sucked because I was afraid of kind of owning up to certain things that I've accomplished and that sort of thing, which was dumb. But I don't know, I've always struggled to take praise from other people and that sort of thing. So I guess that kind of translated to even showing up in my resume. It was a bit of self-sabotage that was unintentional. So it kind of made me realize you need to be good at selling yourself at times. You need to be good at not being humble at times, because sometimes being a bit too humble can be detrimental. So we want to avoid those situations by knowing when it makes sense to not be humble. And definitely when you're doing the job search, you don't really want to be super humble in interviews, but you don't want to be arrogant as well. Again, it's a balance, right? As with many things in life. So it's a balance you really want to make sure that you get right, so that you don't end up holding yourself back in the long run. But there you go. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. I truly hope you enjoyed it, and if so, feel free to leave a like on it for the algorithm. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already and you enjoy videos like this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if one-on-one coaching with me is something that interests you, I have that offered at my website link below. You can definitely reach out to me and we can go over this concept. I can help you with being more humble. I can help you with learning how to sell yourself better, that sort of thing. I can really help you with almost anything you'd like to know about mindset, dating, that sort of thing, life advice even. I'm here to help you guys out as much as possible. But that's all I have for you. Truly hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Arrivederci.